Petscop, the cute little game about catching pets. The game that could be better than Pokemon. Game of the Year winner 2017. The game where Paul could be a better baller than LeBron. My fault. I should introduce myself. My name is Ray the Star, and welcome to RaeNyxEx Theories. Now, if you don't know what Petscop is a horror web series published on the YouTube channel of the same name. It presents itself as a let's play of a fictional game called, well, Petscop. Supposedly made in 1997 for the PlayStation, our protagonist Paul goes into each layer of the game, gradually uncovering its darker past, which is in some way related to the life of himself and his family. In this video, I'm going to go over my interpretation of the entire story in the best way I can. There'll be some bits of the story that I might leave out because I didn't understand them. Now, let's go on with the video. It all starts in the year 1977. The young Marvin Mark from Connecticut is playing in an old windmill with his friend, Lena Liskowicz, and her older sister, Anna. At some point, a tragic accident happens, and Anna gets caught in a mechanism. She suffers terribly, and Marvin puts an end to her suffering by killing her. Lena, being horrified, runs away. Eventually, all people find is Marvin and the remains of a girl. It has to be either Anna or Lena, but it can't be determined whose body it is anymore, and Marvin's not saying anything about it. The other girl is missing, though. Nobody knows whether to look for Anna or Lena. Marvin does his part in searching by not putting up missing girl signs, but rather birthday girl signs, and waiting for either girl to show up on her birthday. Meanwhile, Lena wanders around, having witnessed her older sister's horrific death. To cope with her own trauma, she responds to Marvin's birthday girl campaign of sorts by coming home on Anna's birthday, claiming she's Anna. For whatever reason, though, Marvin goes along with it. Her parents apparently don't notice, perhaps because she already looks older by this point. Marvin and Anna stick together and get married. Marvin becomes a music teacher. Anna obtains an interest in gaming. There's also a third Liskowicz sister, Jill. She has two sons, Daniel and Michael. Daniel is considerably older than Mike, as Daniel is already an adult in the 1990s, while Mike is still a kid. In the 90s, she's also married to Thomas Hammond. This is presumably Mike's father. Daniel might be a son from an earlier marriage. The important thing here is Jill's sons. In the 1990s, Sony announces and releases the popular PlayStation console. Anna is interested in developing a game for the PlayStation and sets up an indie studio, initially in her garage, calling it Garlina. She notices that her nephew Daniel has an interest in creating video games, which he does using Fusoda and Rainer, and asks him to develop a kids game about catching pets for Garlina, making the game Petscop. The kids testing Petscop, including Rainer's little half-brother Mike, seem to be loving it. However, disaster strikes when Anna's husband, Marvin, accidentally kills Mike, presumably by hitting him with his car. Rainer is furious, assumes Marvin did it on purpose, and in his rage, starts digging into Marvin's past. This all happens in the year 1995. However, he, of course, does actually end up finding something. Marvin had something to do with the death of Lena back in 1977. He does some more digging and is convinced Marvin killed her in a windmill. He also notices something else which horrifies him. Marvin and Anna has a daughter, Care, who looks exactly like Lena. Now remember, Anna is secretly Lena. And Marvin appears to be quite obsessive with her. Instead of further developing the gift plan beyond even Care, Rainer secretly starts developing an underworld in which he plans to collect evidence of Marvin's murder of Lena so he can later expose him for it before he gets to Care. In 1996, Anna notices Rainer's underworld project and leaves Marvin because of his disgusting obsession with Care. They decide to share custody, but Marvin becomes more and more erratic and dangerous. She asks Rainer to babysit Care when possible. One night, he is accidentally locked in Care's closet. Marvin comes in through the window and kidnaps Care. Rainer is too late in exposing him. To find out where Kira is, he forces Marvin to play the game. Marvin is confronted with his murder of Lena and his abuse of Kira. However, he doesn't end up getting a confession. Eventually, Kira escapes and ends up back home on her birthday. It turns out she was being held in an abandoned school by Marvin. This all happened between 1997 of June and November. Marvin was jailed and arrested. Petscop has no use for Rainer anymore, and Anna decides to not develop the main game any further. The game is gifted to the family for Christmas in 1997 and is abandoned. But that's not the end. Rainer was focusing all his rage on Marvin and ended up actually finding something, that there's more going on. Kira was not actually a girl. Marvin and Anna were a deeply traumatized couple because of Lena's death. So they decided, when they got a baby boy that looked a lot like Lena, they decided they wanted to be a girl instead. They named her Kira, dressed up as a girl, treated her as a girl, and told everyone she was a girl. After the events of 1997, Kira is taken away from her parents to help her deal with all the traumatic events. Of course, it turns out that she is actually a boy. Anna still really wants a girl and adopts one of the kids who tested Petscop, Belle. However, Belle is an unruly kid. Anna adopts Kira to get her back. Belle just can't wait to be her friend. Anna is now stuck with Belle and tries to get her to behave better by making her go through attachment therapy. Now, I have to make a connection to a Newmaker case, Candace Newmaker, because just like Candace Newmaker, she would have been reborn as Tiara Liskowicz, but it turns out Belle was a quitter. But unlike Candace Newmaker, however, she survived. This all happens in 1997 to 1999. This all eventually comes to light, and both Belle and Kira were taken away from Anna. They were split up and adopted by other people. Kira gets to be a real boy, and is named Paul. Rainer also hears about this and feels incredibly guilty about not going after Anna too. He gets Petscop back and rewrites large parts of it as a project expressing his guilt and insanity. He also apparently discovers that Anna is actually Lena, and makes it so that when someone's using the Phonetic alphabet to write Lena, it ends up saying boss. He gives it to the family for Christmas in 2000. While they play it, and looking for the differences, he kills himself in the bathroom. 17 years pass. Paul finds a copy of Petscop that somehow ends up with his new parents and starts playing it. He has no memories of being Kira anymore. He still has contact with Belle, but he thinks she's just a friend, not family. To show her the game, he uploads videos of him playing the game on YouTube. Paul has no idea what's going on, but Belle seems to know some stuff. The videos go viral, and Anna starts to take notice. When Paul and Belle meet up to go looking for the windmill, they're again abducted by Anna. She forces them to play a version of the game she edited herself so they can find out what really went on. I think the most important theatrical part here is that there are 3 different versions of the game's underworld overlapping each other, which causes it to seem very confusing and sometimes nonsensical. To not upset Paul's loyal audience, the videos are still being uploaded to YouTube, but she censors the part she doesn't want people to know about. Paul is not allowed to give commentary anymore at one point, which has him struggling a lot, but Belle is much quicker to find out what's going on and starts calling herself Tiara to help Paul out. Soon, Paul beats the game by rebirthing Kira with Tiara. Tiara delivers some great exposition if you consider the things I talked about so far. She recalls Paul's mom taking him away when he was Kira, stashing him in her car with Belle in the back seat. And she had some great news. His mom is actually here, and Paul finally gets to meet her. They're family. He is Care. Belle was meant to be his sister. Anna is his real mom. Marvin was not his dad. And now, when Belle talks about the Anna character, she calls her boss, despite actually writing Lena. As I've said before, I think Raynor did this to tell the family about Anna's true identity, and it went unnoticed. TR also found out about Anna's true identity and tried to call her Lena, but keeps calling her boss in the game. Now I know you might be wondering, if Marvin's in jail, who's playing him in the game? Well, I do think Marvin in Paul's game was an AI. Perhaps put there to serve as a guide in Raynor's more disjointed 2000 version of the game. For example, he leads the player into the school and explains how to use the Needles piano. So, yeah, that's it, my little theorists. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you tap the like and subscribe button. I'll see you soon, my little stars.